Hi, I'm Linda Smith. I'd like to talk to you today about why diets don't work. Have you ever had the experience where you went on a diet and cut those calories? In fact, it may have been a calorie controlled diet, and initially you did lose some weight. But after a while, you started feeling so terrible. You were feeling cold, you were feeling tired, you were starving hungry, and either you broke the diet at that point, you couldn't keep it up, or you toughed it out and you did lose weight. But then when you went off the diet and started eating normally again, you not only put on the weight that you'd lost, but you actually put on more, and you weighed more at the end than you did at the beginning of the experience. Well, there is a reason for that. Your body, when it senses that there's less food around, goes into a primitive survival mechanism called starvation mode. Now, starvation mode comes from way, way, way back in our evolution, and its purpose is to stop us from starving in times of famine. And before we had processed food and frozen food and cold storage and all the rest of it, we really had to be able to survive times when food was not plentiful. So to explain this concept a bit better, I'd like to talk with you about an experiment I heard about recently where scientists had bred some rats to be obese. Now, this litter of rats, they took half of the litter of rats and put them in a cage with as much rat chow, which is the rat's food, as those rats could eat. So those rats were very happy. The other group, they half starved. They put them into another cage and only gave them half as much food or less than what the first group had. Now, of course, what we expected to see was the first group of rats gain weight and the second group of rats lose weight. But the scientists were very, very shocked to find that both groups of rats seemed to be gaining weight. They appeared to be getting fat and they looked very similar in size. So when the scientists came to the end of the experiment and they cut open the rats to see what had happened, the first group of rats who got to eat unlimited rat chow had normal sized organs and a normal quantity of muscle tissue, and they were fine. The other group of rats, the ones that were half starved, had equally as much body fat, perhaps more body fat than the first group, and the things that was less was their muscle tissue and their brain and their heart and their liver. They had been catabolizing, which means burning for fuel, their own organs and their own muscle tissue instead of their own fat. Now, how can this be? Why would your body possibly want to burn what seems like a very useful stuff, muscles and heart muscle and liver and organs, brain, rather than burning all this excessive fat? Well, your body is trying to survive in the lean times. And if you're trying to conserve fuel, what you do is you get rid of the active tissue. The active tissue is the stuff that's actually doing the work of living. It's the heart pumping blood around. It's the brain doing all that thinking and controlling things, and especially the muscle tissue. Muscle tissue is what allows you to move around. When you're starving, your body doesn't want you to move around and burn tissue, burn tissue that way, burn energy that way. So it makes you very tired, and these rats were extremely lethargic. And of course, by the end of the experiment, they could probably not move very much at all because they had a lot of fat and not much muscle that could actually heave it around. So this primitive survival mechanism called starvation mode enables you to keep the inactive tissue, the fat storage, in the hopes that it can keep the rest of you alive, and it gets rid of the metabolically active tissue, particularly your muscle, to make sure you're burning the least number of calories possible. So if you've been in starvation mode, your metabolism has actually slowed down, and when you eat normally again, unfortunately, you will gain all the weight plus more because you now have a very slow metabolism. Whereas if your muscle tissue is there's a lot of it on your body, it burns calories for you 24/7. Even while you're asleep, you're burning more calories if you have more muscle tissue than if you had less muscle tissue. So that's a very important and very overlooked point of dieting, and that's why I do not recommend calorie controlled dieting. If you're interested in what I've said in this video, you might be interested in some of the other slightly controversial things I have to say about diet and what works and what doesn't work. Go to my blog, www.whyamifat.com, have a bit of a look, send me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.